Strap in and get ready. This is the Wild Will Throwdown. We're your all-access pass to the world of short track racing, covering everything from regional results to national highlights. Each episode, we dive into upcoming schedules and bring you exclusive interviews with special guests from the heart of the motorsports industry. Now, here is your host, Wild Will Greenwell.
Welcome, everyone, to the Wild Will Throwdown, and it is a great day to be alive. The snow is melting, and that means we're getting close to engines firing here in the Midwest, and Florida already ramping up down there in the beautiful Florida area with Speedweeks, and here we are on another week of the Wild Will Throwdown podcast, season number 5. Hard to believe, and now I will welcome on the hotline the co-host of the Wild Will Throwdown, Mr. Hawk Harold Adams and Dalton Connor, Mr. Young Money himself. And this week we'll start with you, Dalton Connor. You are gearing up, hanging out in that garage, getting ready for the smell of ethanol, race fuel, and getting ready for sunshine.
Yeah, we've actually been super busy, really, surprisingly, because it hasn't really been snowing up here, but then we go to our second job is working on race cars. So we're getting geared up, like you said, and about ready for decals for one of them. So that's kind of the turning point into the new season. When you start lettering up the cars and stuff, then it really starts to hit you.
Hey, that's excellent. You know, we've been busy here, but Harold Adams, I know you're gearing up, getting ready for another busy season here in 2026.
Yeah, no doubt. It's getting that time of year. Like I said, getting the snow out of the way. Hopefully no more of that. And then, temperature's starting to warm up a little bit. So starting to get closer to racing season. Of course, we talking about the Florida races coming up this weekend. So, hey, we're ready.
Yeah, no doubt, and that is a good point. Florida races coming up towards the end of the show. We're actually going to kind of dive into the whole Florida Speed Week deal going on right now, and just a great update. I know I've been asked a lot, when are the new shirts for 2026 going to be here? Well, I'm glad to say I've gotten a call from Arizona Sports Shirts. They are being folded right now into those boxes, and this Monday I will be making my way to the great city of Indianapolis to pick up those new shipment of brand new 2026 shirts. I'm very excited for that. Be on the lookout. Next week, of course, we've been ramping up the club, over 60 already, getting ready to make a few more announcements for special deals on that club. That's ramping up. We've been really busy with that. And, of course, pre-orders will be released next week. Our brand new Wild Will Shop website will be up and firing up for those across the country. So, doing great things here in season number 5 here, of course, partnering with Indy Warrior Partnership this year. Last year, we had Soldiers Angels. This year, Indy Warrior Partnership with the veterans and giving back to what we love to do. But this week, of course, Dalton Connor, you had the topic of the week last week. Mr. Hawk Harold Adams, first topic of the week for you here in 2026. What do we got?
All right. Well, I know last week Dalton was talking about, drivers that you thought about in Florida on the Florida races. So because we got the Florida races coming up here right in the middle of all of that, I thought we would kind of stick to that theme. Kind of lighthearted maybe a little bit here. Just depends on what you got. So I'm going to make you guys think here a little bit. What we're going to do is, and it's going to be interesting because of the different things we do. Will doing the announcing, Dalton with the race cars, and me with photography. But what we're going to do here is think about a story or an episode or something that has happened on one of these trips down to Florida for these February races of the Outlaws or whatever you're involved with. I know Dalton does 10, 12 different divisions, but anyway, it's like, something that's happened that kind of really an interesting story. Cause what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go, nothing really like talking to any racers or anything that's happened there or anything that's happened on the track. I know it could be anything, but the thing that sticks out, an interesting story that I've told to a lot of people, they just don't believe it. And I think I've told you guys, but I'm not sure I've told it on the podcast. So the thing is, it was been several years ago, but in February, it's always good to go down to Florida because you got warmer weather, supposedly. But there was one year where it wasn't quite so warm. It was very chilly. And down there at Showtime, it's pretty close down to the Tampa Bay. And so it was pretty chilly one night, and it was very windy, and that wind coming off that bay. And I was prepared for it because I was looking at the weather forecast. I was like, I know it's going to be cold because it's always been a little chilly down there when the temperature gets a little low. So I brought all my winter gear. Some people were telling me I was crazy. It's like, what are you bringing a freaking your thermals for to Florida? I was like, I'm going to need these. All right. So I got all that down there. And I tell you what, that night the wind was blowing. I was up in the stands. People were freezing to death. I was freezing to death. I had everything on. And the thing is, it's so people just do not believe this, but I will tell you this. That was the coldest night I have ever experienced at a racetrack. And it was in Florida, of all things. I mean, as cold as the nights have been up here in Indiana, Kentucky, wherever, Ohio, that was the coldest night I have ever experienced at a racetrack. That wind coming off that bay. And I know there's some people that I'll say that to, and they'll be like, hey, I remember that year. I froze my ass off. So it's like, I don't know how it happened. I don't know if anything could beat it, but that was something that really sticks out as far as one of my Florida trips. So, how about you, Dalton? What you got for us?
Yeah, well, to piggyback off of yours, it's actually shocking because I went there Showtime 2017, 2018, and 2019, and I can't remember what year it was, but it was 2 years back to back where race night it was like chilly, like colder than what it would be on a normal speedrome night or something. So that is kind of crazy, but a story. Okay, 2017, my first year ever going down there. Same with my dad because he was racing. First year racing down there. I vividly remember there's a go-kart track, probably 5-10 minutes away from Showtime Speedway, and all the racers and stuff go there, whatever. So we're there. Mark Tunney and his crew are there, and so we're out there. We all sit in the cars, buckle up, waiting to go out, and we roll out, and it's probably 14, 15 people, and it's a kind of a small track, really, if I can remember correctly. So we go, and about halfway through the race, one of Mark Tunney's crew members spin. I can't remember his name or who it was, but one of his crew members spin, and I come around behind my brother. My brother swerves to avoid him, and it is still probably to this day one of the hardest hits I've ever taken in a go-kart, race car, whatever. Because whoever is on Mark's crew, I may have to text Mark and ask him who was on his crew back then because I killed that dude, and I guarantee he still probably has visions of it. He probably has PTSD because that was bad. But that's probably one story that I can like vividly remember and talk about and get a good laugh out of. So, Will, I'll pass it to you.
Well, I mean, I digress on that because Harold Adams is an asshole. Because if you want to talk about go-kart racing,
I knew he was going to bring that up, Will. Go ahead, tell him what happened. Go ahead.
I can be an asshole too, but Harold Adams on the go-kart track is one of the biggest assholes you ever seen in your life because he decides this stupid track, I don't know what it was called, Andretti something outside of Orlando. It was the Auburndale Speedway race, I think, one time we went. But
Yep.
This is not the story I'm going to tell, but since we're on the story of karting, Harold Adams decides, and this track is wild. You know, there's ramps that go down, there's up. It's like one of those 2 to 3 stories. Well, anyways, these karts literally have like, I thought you were in Mario World, basically, because you have these buttons that actually give you a boost like real quick, and you can actually hear the sound effects of the engines roaring, and it really does give you a good boost, right? So Harold Adams was just mad because I was beating his ass, and we were coming to a chicane,
Oh, boy.
and all of a sudden, Harold Adams just right into my left rear and puts me into the wall. Actually, you know what? It was my right rear because that's a big no-no. And then I finally get going. He looks behind me and flicks me off or something. And I'm telling this black lady who's an official here that has the flag. I said, black flag his ass. I said, you just see what he did? She goes, well, I can't help it. I was like, all right. I tried my damnedest to get back to his back bumper. I can tell you that. But that's for another time, another story. I still owe him for that, by the way. But anyways.
You should have been mirror driving me.
Yeah, mirror driving you. Oh, gosh, those darn Seahawks fans. Anyways,
Yeah, how about them Seahawks, huh? Let's
well,
talk about that.
well, the most boring game in Super Bowl history. Yeah, with a guy who has sung at a Super Bowl I couldn't even understand. But that's another story too.
Yeah, that is. Go ahead.
But anyways, moving on. Let's look back at 2024. I mean, February 24th, Auburndale, 28th, Citrus, and March 2nd at the Freedom Factory. It was the Winter Storm Series Triple Threat. And, my story about that is basically, wow. What probably my most favorite time to be in Florida. I had such a great time almost 2 weeks being in Florida, and I can tell you, the reason being, Kevin Garrigus put on a great show. We had 3 different tracks. Tori and I took on the broadcasting duties there, and we kicked it off on the 24th at Auburndale. Such a very tight track. You had to qualify well. It was great to see the cars that had to use the bumpers on those racing tires that they were on at the time, plus the track compound that was put down a little bit. And then, of course, you go a little bit further into one of the craziest figure 8 tracks I've ever seen in my life, and that was Citrus County, Florida. And that was a fun track. You had everything from ponds, and you had everything from tight turns and mounds, of course. And then, of course, we went to the Freedom Factory, which is one of the most well-known short tracks now because of who? Cletus, obviously. But that track really grabbed my attention because these cars were basically jumping ramps coming out of the turns because when they went to the intersection, they had all 4 tires off the ground and a high-speed figure 8 track. So, to me, that was the greatest time of year. And the best story I have was those Triple Threat series that we had, cars, the World Figure 8 Tour, basically your Winter Storm Series, 3 different facilities, 3 different forms of racing on how that track ran at Citrus, Auburndale, and Freedom Factory. And I know, Harold, you were there as well, and you know what I'm talking about. That was a great time in Florida.
Yeah, that Winter Storm Series was really awesome. Checking out the different tracks too. I mean, just back to back and back like that. I mean, it was a lot of fun, and like I say, even going to Freedom Factory was kind of surreal in its own, and that was a one of a kind animal there. That's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'm excited to see what happens in the future and seeing if they can get them going again. Yeah, it was great down there. 3 different tracks. We kicked it off. It was fun to see. It was truly like a circuit. You had the guys that, loaded up. You had the storylines on, well, what happened to you, in race number 1? Do you think you can rebound and go to race number 2? Or if this guy, had a DNF, he rebounded great in race number 2 or race number 3. And it was just the storylines for us doing the race and the broadcast and delivering those interviews, of course, to the fans at home. And I actually spent the last week, when you go to your photos in your phone and you can actually see the past memories. Well, I have all of those interviews still in my phone from the Winter Storm Series, which is really cool, with Eddie Van Meter, Calvin Crane, the Tunnies, Troy Hughes, all of those guys. And it was fun. It was a really, truly a great aspect. And look, towards the end of the show today, we're going to actually talk about some of the figure 8 racing coming up at Showtime and Auburndale. And we're going to take a peek at some of the other things going on as the big boys, the NASCAR series, amps up this weekend at Daytona. So it's going to be a great time. Racing season is about here. We're almost to the month of March. We're almost to the cross flags of the month of February. And that leads us into our guest coming up here next on the show. He did a phenomenal job at Volusia. That is Ben Harmon, the driver, the number 1H in the Dirt Modifieds. We'll talk to him next when we come back here on the Wild Will Throwdown. Race fans, in 2026, we celebrate 5 years of the podcast, The Wild Will Throwdown. And in 2026, we cannot thank our great marketing partners for what they do for us, including the Salem Speedway, the Sportsdrome Speedway, KKR, Indianapolis Speedrome, Elite Outdoor Services, Shears Drain Cleaning, Kentucky Clutch and Performance, Forklift Rescue, Diesel Boys, Harp fans, Hoosier Auto Racing fans, Flag to Flag Media, Roosters, Marshall Jaggers Racing, Derby City Recycling, Polk Brothers Racing, John McLaren Motorsports, Shane Wilson Lawn Care, Sean Smith Race Cars, Circle City Raceway, Victory Lane Frenchies, Oink Incorporated, Hadley Towing and Recovery, Code 3 Roofing, KJ Enterprises, The Smile Center, Clap Mowing and Landscaping, LaFever's Curbing, El Tarasco Mexican Restaurant, and S&R Towing. We cannot thank our beautiful marketing partners enough for their success and their support in 2026. And welcome back to the Wild Will Throwdown, season number 5, supporting Indie Warrior Partnership this year, partnering with the U.S. military for our veterans. Now on the hotline, a gentleman who's been on in the past here, of course, as Dad, one of our proud sponsors of our show, Kentucky Clutch and Performance. We'll welcome Mr. Ben Harmon, the driver of the number 1H from Brooks, Kentucky, in the Dirt Modified. Ben, long week in Florida, the Sunshine State, so finally back home in Kentucky.
Yes, sir. It feels good to be back home, but we're already missing racing again. But I appreciate you guys having me on.
Well, hey, absolutely, buddy. You know, we've been talking about your improvement here lately. Of course, keeping our eyes on you ever since you went to the Modified. Of course, Florida Speedweeks. Everyone's talking about Florida, no matter if you're in a dirt car or an asphalt car or the NASCAR series. It is the right time of the year to be in the great state of Florida. So you went down to Volusia. Been down there a couple times myself. Awesome half-mile racetrack, beautiful facility. So talk a little bit about your time there. I mean, from where you started in the first race all the way up into the, of course, I guess the Dirt Car Nationals and finishing it out.
Yeah, we had a good time. You know, anytime you can go, and really we didn't end up tearing up much stuff, but we kind of were on the struggle bus. Really, we got down there. We actually went down there on a Tuesday and tested at Alltech, and then we raced at Volusia Thursday through Saturday, and then we took off that Sunday, and then we had the Monday through Saturday stuff for the Gator deal. We were pretty good. You know, we started off that Thursday. We had a lot of speed, and you know, down there it's a little bit different. You know, like sometimes, you know, you go race around here and you'll think, oh well, they got 50 cars or they got 30 cars. Well,
sure.
20 of them are, you know, they're just happy to be there. You know, they're not there to win the race. But you go down there and you got 80, 100 guys, they're all there and they could possibly win the race.
Yes.
So it's tough. And we had some trouble like Thursday. You know, we got there, car had great speed, but man, we just couldn't get it to steer. So we battled with that, and we ended up being the first car to miss the show Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
And then they ended up canceling Saturday, and then we got her turning good Monday and Tuesday, but we didn't necessarily have the traction we needed. And it's just all, you know, it's all just hit or miss. You know, like we don't get a lot of practice or anything. So by the time you figure out what adjustments you want to make, like, I mean, it's time to qualify. So you're kind of just playing a guessing game. And we finally guessed right on Wednesday. We ended up running 6th in the feature Wednesday night. And then Thursday they rained out, but then Friday we ended up starting 12th in a feature and ended up finishing 4th. We were like one spot out of a transfer spot for the Gators 50 or whatever they call it. And Saturday we ended up starting on the pole of a B main and were able to win it and make that final showdown. And it was really cool. I think just to be able to go down there and compete, like we won a B main, and heck, the guy that won the feature last year was in the B main. So we improved every day, and we showed a lot of speed there, especially towards the end of the week. And just to make that show, you know, that's why we went. It was a huge accomplishment for us. There ended up being like 108 race cars that day. So just to be able to get in the show, and we ended up running pretty good. We started 22nd. We had a flat tire like 2 or 3 laps in and restarted at the tail, and we were able to drive to 12th. And then we got caught up in a little incident and folded the nose up. So that was all she wrote. But, and we was happy with it, and especially the speed the race car showed. And just we all kept digging at it, and it all ended up paying off.
Well, yeah, you know, you talk about that, you know, and I've announced, of course, in the past with some of these well-known modified drivers, especially in the IMCA ranks, of course. Now, racing with a lot of talent out there and veteran drivers, Kenny Wallace, Tyler Nicely, Will Krupp. The list goes on and on and on and on. And, what is it like racing with some of these well-seasoned veteran drivers?
Man, it's really cool. And I've always thought that. Like, I mean, heck, Kenny Wallace, he raced NASCAR, and me and him had the race of our lives for 20th, Saturday night.
Oh, I saw that, yes.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool, and it's just cool to out there with guys that's been doing it for years. Well, we're starting to get our notebook's starting to fill up pretty good.
Oh, yes.
And it's just cool, man. It's an accomplishment. I used to always kind of think like, wasn't necessarily, scared, but of the competition. But, like my first or second year, it was just kind of nerve wracking, he's won a national championship and we're not going to be able to compete and this and that. But at the end of the day, we all put our pants on the same way.
Yes.
And we just kind of at the racetrack kind of look at it that way. And we just keep working on our race car and staying inside, what we're doing and just try to get faster.
Well, that's it. And, you fast forward a little bit to getting ready, of course, up here. Really, race season hasn't primarily started yet. But looking around at the tracks and your 2026 schedule, I know you've been racing a lot in this area with Ponderosa and Lake Cumberland and even ventured up to Brownstown. I know you've raced some with the Summer Nationals Tour and whatnot when they had the late models. What is your plans going into 2026 as far as your full season ahead?
We're not really we don't have anything set in stone yet, but just kind of what we've really talked about and what we'd like to do, so I followed a championship 2 years in a row. In 2024, I followed that Cumberland Plateau Series.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And ended up finishing second in the points. And then last year, I followed the Northern All-Star Series and actually led the points for a while. And then we had one bad run, and it's like as soon as we did, I lost the points lead. It was actually at the Merle Downey, and we had a bad run, lost the points lead, and then it's like we rained out for 2 months, and we ended up just couldn't get rescheduled, and ended up finishing second in those points. So really 2026, I mean, I definitely want to follow another series, just because, I mean, we've won like a track championship, but I'd really like to win one of those championships. I think that'd be really cool and everything. So we're kind of going to start off in March. We're hoping maybe, Brownstown, Indiana has those first few races, first couple weeks of March, but hopefully the weather plays nice. But if not, we're going to try and do that Mods Gone Wild at Peevely at I-55 in March. And then after that, just kind of get rolling and probably follow that Cumberland Plateau Series. Just their schedule, they're running a lot of Kentucky tracks that, we've kind of cut our teeth at, but they're also running, a couple new tracks and places we haven't went to that would be cool to see. And another thing, we were kind of leaning towards their schedule just because, too, they're off the entire month of June.
Oh, okay.
So in June, we're going to try and run, I don't know, probably 12 to 15 summer national races and kind of see where we stack up in their points at the end of it as well. And then, just kind of on off weekends, just kind of hang out and race wherever we want, wherever we end up, that kind of thing.
That's a good feeling, right? I mean, not to be strapped down and you have those breaks. And that's the thing that is good about the Modifieds now. Modifieds, I've said it for years, it's great to see them getting the bigger races, but also getting some good points paying races too, and good iconic races, I guess you could say prestige. But then talking about track-wise, Ben Harmon, what does he prefer? Short bull ring, 5th mile, quarter mile, those half miles we saw at Volusia, or what do you like? What suits your taste?
Man, honestly, I just love to race. Anywhere that the track is 2 lanes and you can pass a race car, that's where I like to race. Or really wherever I end up qualifying at.
Sure.
I really started last year, man. I loved bull rings a lot. I just, they're a little bit easier to run because you don't got to carry as much speed and carry as much momentum. And you get into the half mile stuff, it just gets super technical, at Volusia, a guy takes air off your nose and
Yeah.
then you push out to the wall. And that kind of, that's kind of cool to me. It's harder to be faster on a big track than it is a little track.
Makes perfect
necessarily,
sense.
Because we get to the bull rings, I like to get elbows up and beat and bang and everything. And then you get to a half mile, I kind of like to try and drive straight and carry speed. It's just, so I guess at the end of the day, wherever I end up qualifying up front, that's where I'm happy to be at that day.
Well, no, I mean, that's absolutely a great explanation. And, we talk about your success and seeing you from when you first got in the dirt modified up to now being kind of seasoned and more in that. But looking ahead, seeing what you're doing now, is there any plans to kind of look at the next level from the modified or kind of stay in there right now?
Man, right now, we've talked about it, and we just kind of want to stay in the modified world at the moment,
Sure.
just kind of keep cutting our teeth and try to win, a couple more big money races and stuff like that. And then maybe, in the future, get us a late model or something of that matter.
Well, you're young, and that's the beauty of it. So you're having fun right now. You're doing phenomenal. I'm sure we're going to see you with more Victory Lane photos at various tracks here in 2026. But, Ben, before I let you go, anybody you want to thank on that beautiful number 1H machine?
Yeah, there's a ton of people, man. Honestly, really, I'm just the lucky one that gets to drive the dang thing. But first off, I got to thank my mom and dad. They're pretty much the face of everything that goes on around there. My dad and just him, putting a lot of time and money into that thing so we can be good and compete and never show up to the racetrack and, well, he's got better stuff than me and this and that kind of matter. My
Sure.
parents have really, really did that for me and put me in what I need to be in. And just the support they give me is crazy. And, they're my biggest fans at the end of the day too. So that, that means a whole lot. And even my Papa Rance, he puts in countless hours in the garage, making
Sure.
sure everything's running right. And my other Grandpa Eddie, he supports me like crazy. And then again, my best friend Kevin, he's been with me the whole way. He's constantly wrenching on that thing, and it's just a team effort. It takes a village, and I'm very happy that I got a great one. I definitely couldn't do it without any of them.
No, absolutely. And Ben, trust me, we see the improvement. We're cheering for you. We always like watching you, whether you're on Flow Racing or Dirt Vision, of course. But, buddy, thanks for joining us this week, and we're excited to see what you do with the rest of 2026.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you guys again.
Race fans, here in 2026, we are glad to partner with Flag to Flag Media. Our friends Matt Lamar and the gang set to have a show Thursday nights at 8 p.m. on their YouTube page or Facebook platform. Just go to Flag to Flag Media. That's FLAG, the number 2, FLAG Media. Flag to Flag Media for all of your dirt highlights around the region. Check them out at Flag to Flag Media. And welcome back to the Wild Will Throwdown Season number 5. That was the driver of the number 1H, Ben Harmon. Had a great speed week down in Florida. Of course, gears up to get ready for some local racing here. Going to maybe follow a few tours and whatnot. It'll be exciting to see what that young man can do and continue to improve on. But here we go. Towards the end of the show today, we're going to talk a little bit about Florida Speed Week, since that seems to be the theme this year. No matter if you have dirt or you have asphalt, you have NASCAR, you have figure eight racing, you have everything in Florida you could dream of. Of course, New Smyrna has been firing up. I know Glenn Luckett's been down there helping him with the race officiating. Been keeping an eye on that. I've been actually spending a little bit this week watching Flow Racing. I mean, the World Series down there at New Smyrna. But Dalton, that's the great thing. People want to say, well, streaming, blah, blah, blah. But man, streaming, whether it's Flow Racing, whether it's Dirt Vision, whether it's a Pit Row TV, whether it's some kind of affiliation. We've seen the U.S. Legend cars. We're going to talk about that at Auburndale. But Dalton, man, it really gives us something back home to kind of come home from work through the week and actually watch racing live.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's beneficial for everyone, the people who can't make it, and all the people that are paying their, or the people that are getting the money from all the people paying for it. So I know if you walk in my house this time of the year, on the living room TV, it's literally Flow Racing or whatever. It's definitely been Flow Racing on a New Smyrna and stuff like that. But I watched the qualifying last night too, as I was on iRacing for the Daytona
Yep.
500. So it's just everything is like right back to back to back in February, it seems. So it's definitely one of the best months of the year, even though I'm not racing.
Yeah, no doubt. But, congratulations to Kyle Busch on that pole award from Richard Childress Racing. Glad to see Kyle Busch finally back up front again. And Kyle Busch, we've seen him and his child, Brexton, race at the Auburndale Speedway in the Legend Cars. I think the day before he qualified on the Poe, he actually went and won in a Legend Car at Auburndale, so a track that we know very well now. But, Harold Adams, you and I have talked about this. We've seen dirt racing at Volusia when we went down there and, talking about how you can just see everything on streaming now if you're not in the state of Florida.
Yeah, that's right. We're not going to make it down there again this year, unfortunately, but hopefully maybe next year. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But yeah, with all the stuff going on, you hear about different people that down there, different tracks, and everything going on. I mean, it kind of gets you going, kind of gets that racing blood flowing in you a little bit for the beginning of the season here. And of course, just word came out that Speedrome.tv, is going to do the broadcast down there at Showtime this weekend. So I'll probably be watching some figure eight racing Saturday night.
There you go. Good lead in because we were going to talk about that. Just figure eight racing still seems to be the topic. As you've seen a lot of big news this week that the 50th annual World 3-Hour Championship going to be kind of spread out a whole week long. Monday night you have some free food giveaways to pump everyone up. Tuesday night you're going to have a 50-lap kind of, I guess you could say, tune-up for that event with other divisions. And then, of course, Wednesday night, you have the Legend Cars and all of that fun stuff with figure eight stuff going on qualifying. Thursday night, you have, of course, the lead-in. Friday night, all of that activities leading up to the 50th Annual World Figure Eight Championship on Saturday night. So that's going to be a fun week of figure eight racing. If you're a figure eight fan, that is the place to be. So that's going to be fun. But, looking at Florida, you have New Smyrna that's been going on with the World Series. You have Auburndale Speedway with the U.S. Legend Car Nationals down there. The Bandoleros. I've been actually, while kind of doing some office work throughout the week, kind of tuned into that. That's been fun to watch those kiddos and, of course, adults in the Masters class. You have Auburndale coming up with the figure eight race in a few weeks. You have Showtime this weekend. And I always want to say Showtime like Yoho always does, but I don't seem to get it that much.
Yep. Me too.
Yeah, what's your best Showtime, Dalton? Can you give us your best Yoho
Oh,
impersonation?
God, you're really gonna put me on the
Go
spot
for it.
like that?
Let's hear it, Dalton Connor.
I'm gonna do like 2 or 3 seconds of silence, like a Facebook Live starting up, like I'm Yoho, and then I'm gonna give it to you. Okay?
All right.
Showtime!
Actually, that was good. I like that. Even got the rasp in there. All right, Harold Adams, what about you?
All right. Yeah, as I say, Harold, your turn.
Well, I know a lot of times he says, "It's gonna be huge. It's showtime."
Oh man, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Woo! Oh God. Well, we record these late, so that's fun. I don't know, y'all. That is some good Yoho impersonations there. That might be the thing. At the World 3-Hour Championship.
As long as we don't look like him.
Oh God, let's move on. Okay.
I definitely don't have the hair for that.
Yeah, well, true. That's true. That's very true. But looking at it, this is going to be very interesting to see how it goes this weekend, and of course, every weekend prior to that on the Auburndale race, who's going to show. Just saw a release this past. I know Darren Greenwell and Robbie weren't going to make Showtime this weekend because of issues, so they're going to be scratches, unfortunately. So we'll see what happens. I know Mark Tunney and the gang's coming down. Now, look, people are like, well, the first race they didn't have that many cars. Okay, yes, I understand that, and people are going to want to say, well, it's because they're not blah blah blah. Let's go on to the reverse flip side. how many blue-collar guys that actually have jobs, right? This ain't NASCAR. This ain't Lucas Oil Late Model Series. This ain't World of Outlaws. This ain't a big series. This is not your livelihood. But asking guys to come down for, 1 week to 1 week, that's 1 week, right? And everyone's going to do Auburndale, so you got to stay from showtime to another week. So that's 2.5 weeks in Florida. I mean, let's be real. I mean, Harold, I'll give it to you. It's just hard for these blue-collar racers to do that.
Yeah, it's true. And even like, a couple years ago when you was talking about the Winter Storm Series,
Sure.
I believe those races was Saturday, Wednesday, and Saturday, right?
Yes.
And so, I mean, even I wanted to make all of them. I couldn't make all of them. I did the Wednesday and Saturday. I had to miss that first
Sure.
Saturday. So, and I know a lot of other people did too. Fans, they had to kind of pick and choose, which weekend they wanted to go to, so on and so forth. So, hey, at least, if I could make one of them, I was happy. But that year I made two of them, so that was a real thrill.
Yeah, I mean, that's the point, right? So, I mean, nothing against Showtime, nothing against, Auburndale. It's just you have to pick and choose, right? I mean, if you can take that long of time off or you own your own business, kind of like we do, the dental practice, I mean, that's how I made it, to be honest. We could just kind of own our own business. We take off when we want to. But, just looking at it, it's hard. How much PTO you have, big corporations you work for, and all this fun stuff. So there's all that good stuff. But I'm excited to see how it goes this weekend. And I want to also say something else. The championship tractor pull here going on. My wife and I will be at that on Saturday. And I kind of want to emphasize this. People, tractor pulling, well, is it really a good sport? Well, look, they've interviewed these guys at the National Farm Machinery Show Tractor Pull. This is the Super Bowl of tractor pulling. So it's the biggest going. So I'm excited to see Saturday night. Of course, it's indoor season still up here. Monster Jam, of course, we talk about how it's indoor season, and they've been ramping up. But here in a few short weeks, guys, and I'm going to say this, we are looking at the first practices here once we hit to the month of March to a different tracks up here in the Midwest.
Yep. I mean,
Yeah.
we are really looking forward to it, aren't we?
Yes, I mean 100%. I know Dalton, Connor, will pass it to you. When do you see your first practice going out in the Midwest up here?
Probably mid-March, if I had to take a guess. So yeah, within the next couple of weeks, I'd say, or within the next month anyway. So, and I cannot wait for it. I'm tired of being cooped up inside all day. I want to turn some laps in a race car, and I don't care what car it is.
There you go. So another big thing before we end the show, of course, the Daytona 500 this Sunday afternoon. And we got a lot of locals up here, actually, involved in NASCAR. A lot of people don't really, you think about NASCAR. We got a lot of crews, whether it's pit crews, whether it's crew chiefs, whether it's drivers. Looking at this Friday night, it's going to be the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Saturday will be the ARCA Menard Series and O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, and Sunday the Cup Series. But one of our own at Salem Speedway, Will Kimmel, going to be competing in the ARCA Menard Series at Daytona. I believe Brayton Laster, I don't know how his career is going this year. I don't know if he's entered in, but he's raced in the past there, so Indianapolis area. Travis Mike, of course, crew chief of the number 42 machine, the Dollar Tree machine in the Cup Series. He actually had a good qualifying effort for his driver this past night for qualifying at the Daytona 500. So a lot of big-time racers in this area, crew chiefs, whatnot, have come up in the sport. So it's pretty cool to pull for them in the highest level of racing as far as the stock cars go, and that is the NASCAR Cup Series. But what a great show today. Harold Adams, what is your final white flag moments of this week?
Well, I'm just going to say we're going to get full throttle into things, I'd say, by with all the figure eight racing that's going on this weekend now, with, like you said, with the pay-per-view coming up. And I got to mention, too, let's go back a little bit. I know we touched on it before just for a second, but I'm going to say this. How about them Seahawks?
Boo. The worst Super Bowl ever. Boring Super Bowl. I fell asleep, by the way.
I didn't.
I'm sure you didn't.
I enjoyed every second of it. And I tell you what, you're going to have to put up with them for several years. They're going to be around a while, buddy.
They won't even make the playoffs next year, Dalton. So
well, Will, I hate to break it to you, but I actually kind of like the Seahawks, so I didn't mind watching that game either. I'm not going to get a nickname, though. I'm not going to be Hawk 2.0 over here.
Yeah, little Hawk Jr. with his hat.
Well, I do know. Hey, around this area though, I do know a lot of Colts fans do not like the Patriots, of course. So a lot of the Colts fans were rooting the Seahawks just for that reason.
Well,
I was.
I just wanted to see who was. I just wanted to see a good game. I didn't care if it was Seahawks. I didn't care if it was the Patriots. Colts next year, I don't know. We got Daniel Jones back. We'll see how it goes. But, I'm really interested to see the NFL next year, by the way, because of all the different coach changes. I mean, that's the story right now. I mean, looking at the postseason.
A lot of them.
A lot of them.
A whole lot.
Yes, I'm getting ready to see. I want to see what's going to happen. And, my in-laws are from Cleveland, and they're not too happy with their choice. And, of course, Buffalo fans are rioting because McDermott, I think it is. Is it McDermott?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I always get him and the Rams coach mixed up. But they were rioting because, hey, we're getting rid of this good coach. And then I'm here, Cleveland fans are mad because they didn't interview this guy. So, a lot of stuff on the offseason and Harbaugh going to New York. And that's another podcast time episode because there are so many storylines. And I'm excited for September. Of course, that's another thing, Harold Adams. Think about it. The 50th World Championship, not only every year, the Figure 8 Championship, but that's football kickoff weekend too.
Yeah. Matter of fact, that reminds me. Usually, a Super Bowl champion opens up the season on that Thursday night, so I might have a little bit of a dilemma going on there.
You might, but Figure 8's more important than Seahawks. I can tell you that.
Oh, I'll be at Speedrome, no doubt.
I know. Well, Dalton, what's your final white flag moments that Harold took up 5 minutes of airtime talking about the Seahawks?
Well, like Harold said, everybody enjoy the pay-per-view, the streaming now at Showtime. Nobody has to get barred for life. So that'll be good for everybody. And stay tuned possibly this upcoming week for one of my cars to be released on the decal. So stay tuned for that.
Oh, look at that. That's a little teaser. Well, as always, race fans, I want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in each and every week here on the podcast, having some fun, talking racing, whether it's short track racing, asphalt, a little bit of dirt here and there, figure 8 racing. But racing is almost here, and we are so appreciative of having that sport in our lives. But be on the lookout next week. Merchandise sales are going to go pre-sales, and shirts will be in, so I'm very excited for that. A lot of great things happening on the podcast. But tune in each and every week for more and more of the Wild Will Throwdown. As for me, my name is Will Greenwell, and I will see you around the turn.